Hello my sweet friends, my name is Hannah and welcome back to my channel. It has been a hot minute since I've talked about books on here. I think the last time I updated you on my reading journey this year was in the beginning of February. I have read 14 books in the past 3 months and I figured we should probably sit down and talk about them. So let's take it all the way back to February when I read Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This was, well, it still is, I guess. This is the second book in the Powerless trilogy. I gave it 3 stars. I didn't like it. I gave Reckless a 3 out of 5-star rating. I didn't like it nearly as much as I liked Powerless. It just seemed a little slow. It just got to be a bit repetitive, I guess is what I'm saying. You know what it was? It kind of felt like Red Queen to me a little bit. And I don't love Red Queen. I didn't even finish Red Queen because the storyline just kind of like, you know what I mean? So we'll see if I go back to the Powerless series. I'm not like, oh my gosh, I need to read the next book like I was with some of my other books. The next book that I read was My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney. This book was really good. It was like a mystery thriller. It's about a wife who comes home from a run, can't get into her own home, only to be told that her husband doesn't know who she is. She's been replaced with this other woman. Murders happen. Detectives come in, try to solve the case. You get so many POVs. You get so many interwoven storylines, unreliable narrators, people who just aren't telling you the whole truth. It kept me guessing until the end. I was not able to even remotely guess what the crime was. There was kind of a couple crimes, actually. Yeah, it was a good book. It was a really good book. It kept me engaged. I really liked it. I gave it a 4-star read. I think there were some plot points that weren't fully fleshed out, but I could look past it. 4 stars. Loved it. Next up on my list was Tradwife by Saratoga Schaefer. This book is in the horror genre, which I don't usually touch, but it was really good. I literally could not stop reading this book. I couldn't put it down in the best way, but also in the worst way. It is about a tradwife influencer who is desperate to like level up in her content. So the obvious solution is to have a baby. However, her marriage is in a bit of turmoil. So she decides to enlist the help of an angel who is obviously not an angel and is in fact a well demon. So it's kind of like Rosemary's Baby. Actually, it's like if Rosemary's Baby happened to a tradwife influencer. It was really good. I really liked it. I was hooked. I was grossed out. I was horrified. I laughed. I cried. 4 stars. On the back of Tradwife, I read You Will Never Be Me by Jessie Sutanto. And again, we have influencers in turmoil. I don't really know why I'm so interested in this genre, but I am who I am and I like what I like, I guess. You Will Never Be Me was okay. I think that I was going off the back of like books with really similar plot lines that I really liked. So this one just fell a little bit flat for me. I gave it 3 stars. Originally I gave it 4, but as I sat on it, I think that I just liked the premise a bit, but I think the book itself was maybe a little bit flat. One noted, if you will. Following You Will Never Be Me, I read Catching Fire by Susan Collins. The Hunger Games trilogy is a forever 5 stars for me. I just freaking love them. I hadn't read the trilogy in a really long time, honestly. I read this on my honeymoon and it was so good. I feel like every time that I would like pick up my phone, I just wanted to like read a few more pages because I was so into the story. And there's so much there. I hadn't read them in a little while, but I have watched the movies pretty recently and they just gloss over so much. Obviously, I understand like book to movie adaptations have to be different because of time restraints, yada yada yada, but the books are so good and I can't believe that I like them. Oh my gosh, 14 years, maybe 15 years after I first read them, I still really enjoy them. So 5 stars, Catching Fire, absolutely love it. Piggybacking off of Catching Fire, I also read Mockingjay, 5 stars. Same thing, every time I picked up my phone, I just wanted to read a couple pages instead of scrolling, which like, you guys, I got the Kindle app on my phone and it's a game changer. I think that I need to be an e-reader girl because death to the phone. Anyway, Mockingjay, 5 stars. The entire Hunger Games trilogy, 5 stars. After I finished the Hunger Games, I read Educated by Tara Westover. This is a memoir. This was on like a book roundup I did when I cleaned up my Goodreads TBR list, and it popped out to me and I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I really want to read that book. This is absolutely 5 stars. It was so well written. The story is incredible. Tara Westover was born to like naturalist survivalists and didn't get a formal education until she was 17 years old. The first time that she stepped foot in a classroom, it was a college classroom, and she started breaking down her internal biases and, you know, the narrative that her family instilled in her. She absolutely just grew into her own person, gained her own sense of self and her own sense of beliefs. It was really, really good. 5 stars. I will not ever stop recommending Educated. It's a must read. If you haven't read it, it is an absolute must read. Okay, we're finally getting into April. I don't think I've said yet, but Reckless, My Husband's Wife, and Tradwife were all read in February. You Will Never Be Me, Catching Fire, Mockingjay, and Educated were all read in March. So finally we can get into April, and April was a really good month. Starting off strong, I read Dear Debbie by Frida McFadden. She did it again, you guys. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just bad at guessing the plots of books, but it caught me off guard. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know where the story was gonna go. I have been really loving dual perspective books, which this book did. You got a husband and a wife perspective. Debbie writes an advice column, and when things around her in her personal life start to deteriorate, she kind of does as well. And that's really interesting because you got to see her rationalize her decisions, and you were like, you know what, Debbie? You're kind of right for that. And then you would hear her husband's explanations of everything going on, and you're like, whoa, actually, he might be onto something. You love everybody, but you also don't like anyone in the story, which I think are the best kinds of stories. I love a morally ambiguous character. So, speaking about morally ambiguous characters, I read The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. And you guys, I know you all told me that this book was good, but I didn't expect it to be that good. It was so long, first of all. That is a really long book, and I think that's why I only gave it a 3-star rating, is because it could have been so much better if we pulled some of that out of there. This book is set at a summer camp in northern New York. I guess it's like upstate New York. You're following the disappearance of 2 people. You're in dual timelines, and you're following the disappearance of Bear and, oh my God, what's her name? Brenda? Barbara. Bear and Barbara. And they are siblings. I'm not explaining this well, but Bear goes missing. A few years later, Barbara goes missing from the same summer camp. So you're trying to figure out the whole book through several POVs and 2 different timelines. What the heck is going on? So you're looking through the eyes of the counselors, through the eyes of Barbara, through the eyes of the parents, camp goers. There is so much there that it takes you so long to even like sort through the information. At least for me, maybe not you. Maybe I'm just putting this on you, but I felt like I had to just keep going because I felt like I needed to just sort through all of the information and get my story straight a little bit. It was so hard for me to guess what was happening because I almost couldn't comprehend what had already happened. So if that sounds like a book for you, read God of the Woods. Now, at this point in April, I was feeling a bit burnt out by all of the crime of it all. And I really just wanted something a bit lighthearted, a bit more fun. So I turned to Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Bestone. And you guys, in this book, we are following Lenny, who has just lost her best friend Lou to cancer. We follow her dig herself out of the pit of grief side by side with Miles, who is also going through his own grief journey. They meet and decide to help each other, and obviously they fall in love. Really adorable, and it made me laugh and it made me cry, and it was really good. 5 stars. 5 stars for Promise Me Sunshine. 5 stars for Cara Stone. Always. All right. And then on April 14th, we got The Thorn Queen. A new release. A new release. This was by Sasha Payton Smith, and it is the second part in the Rose Bargain duology. Did that make any sense at all? I had really high expectations for this book. I absolutely loved The Rose Bargain. It's in this like Bridgerton meets fairy meets high fantasy realm. It's so good. I had really high expectations for The Thorn Queen, and I just made me think that that was the problem. Is that my expectations were a bit too high. I gave this a 3-star rating. I kind of had the same problem here as I did with Powerless. What was the second one there? Reckless, where I just felt like we kept going in circles, running in circles instead of getting more character development, maybe introducing new characters, maybe doing literally anything else. I still liked being in the world. I still liked knowing what was going to happen with everybody, and I liked the ending a lot. Yeah, it was just okay. I gave it 3 stars. Okay, we're getting there, you guys. Couple left. Next up, I read Strangers, A Memoir of Marriage by Belle Burton. This book is so popular right now. It is all over the place. I feel like everybody is reading this book. I feel like everybody really liked it. And I did too. Count me in. Throw me in that little bucket. I was back and forth about this book the entire time I was reading it because obviously I felt for the main character. The story follows Belle through her divorce and through her new self-discovery, her new identity as a person and not just a wife. She had a huge identity crisis. But you also follow her journey through unpacking her internalized misogyny. I think that if I had gone in knowing a little bit more about how she was perceived after this divorce and the things that would happen and be said to her following the divorce is crazy. It's not my favorite memoir that I've ever read, but I am glad I read it. It was pretty short too, so if you're on the fence about it, I say go for it. If you, like me, were a little hung up on the fact of like, I don't really know if I could read about ultra rich people having everyday problems, I think you should still read it because there is a lot of like underlying themes in the book that make it worth it. Okay, last up on the list, the last book that I finished in April. I read Margot's Got Money Troubles by Ruth Thorpe. I knew the plot going into this book, which is Margot has an unexpected pregnancy. When she delivers the baby, she realizes, oh my God, I'm 20 years old. I had a baby. I can't pay for it. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm having a crisis. I need help. So she starts doing OnlyFans to get money. Obviously, all of this other chaos ensues, but the main premise is that Margot has money troubles, so she turns to OnlyFans and content creation to make a living and make a great life for her son. It was so good. I really liked it. I don't reach for a lot of like straight up novels. I read a lot of romance, I read a lot of fantasy, I read a lot of thriller, but not like an everyday novel. And this was so good. I need to start reaching for this genre more is what I'm learning because it had me laughing, I was crying, I was shocked, my heart fell into my stomach for some of these scenes, and it was really good. I really, really liked Margot's Got Money Troubles. I didn't think it was gonna be that good. I was like a little bit suspicious, I'll say, going into it, knowing the plot, but it was so good. Okay, that kind of brings us into this mid-range. I'm about, I don't know, maybe like 75% of the way through. I am reading Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas, and it's so good. I understand why everybody was on the Throne of Glass train. I kind of didn't get it in the first couple of books, but now I'm in. I am in, I am on board, I'm hooked. I'm gonna devour the rest of this book. So I'm sure that I'll finish that book, I don't know, in the next couple days probably, but it felt mean to not put it on here, especially because we are about to talk about my TBR for May. So the first 2 books on my TBR go hand in hand. hand in hand. Empire of Storms, Tower of Dawn, also by Sarah J Maas. The next 2 books in the Throne of Glass series. The reason they go hand in hand is I have yet to decide if I want to do a tandem read. I really need some advice here. So if you have done the tandem read, did you like it? Did you not like it? I need to know. Mind you, I'm reading this series for the first time. So is it wise to do a tandem read? I've heard mixed reviews. I need advice. I need advice. I am feeling another memoir too. And I think I'm gonna lean towards Beyond the Wand by Tom Felton. I don't really know much about this book other than I want to read it. I think that it goes over like Tom Felton's life growing up as Draco Malfoy. I literally can only imagine how hard that is to be like thrust into the spotlight at 12 years old and just kind of follow that story. I am really excited. So that's definitely on the list. And then finally on my TBR, I want to read Happy Place by Emily Henry. I started Happy Place last summer and I just like couldn't get into it. But I've since then really started liking romance novels. I kind of wasn't into it then. I didn't really get it, but as soon as I was like a little bit on board, I'm fully on board. I read Funny Story and I really loved it. I am ready to jump into Happy Place. Yeah, oh my gosh, wait, that's all I had on my list, you guys. We're literally done with the video. Can you believe? I feel like it happened so fast. I was having so much fun. If you want to read any of these books, I want to know. I would love to yap about them to you. Let's start a book club. I had so much fun filming this video. I hope you had fun watching it. And I will see you real soon in the next one. Bye!